Good afternoon. Welcome to Sing Me a Question, or How I Survived the Second Year of the Pandemic. In April of 21, a sort of frivolous idea came to me. What if I put together an entire production of Broadway show tunes that ask questions? As I worked on it, though, the songs prompted me to delve into memories and the feelings they evoked. So I invite you to join me on a musical journey through some significant events in my life. And while we embark on this journey, will you take a moment to silence your cell phones? Thank you. Dites-moi, which I've just sung, is from Rodgers and Hammerstein's South Pacific. I can't remember a time when I didn't know it. My home life was what could charitably be called volatile. And to escape its dangers, I spent many hours of my childhood and adolescence in the basement listening to original cast albums of Broadway shows. Moments in the Woods is from Stephen Sondheim's Into the Woods. Working on it and the three other Sondheim songs in this production, I've gained an even greater appreciation for his beautiful and often challenging melodies, his inventive rhyme schemes, and his almost demonic penchant for writing lyrics comprised of lists. And what a delight it was to finally get all those lists memorized. Into the Woods is a mashup of a number of Grimm's fairy tales and a new tale about a baker and his wife. The show revolves around wishes and the classic warning to be careful what you wish for. In the first act, the baker's wife reveals that she has a fantasy about meeting Prince Charming. This desire will be fulfilled in the second act during a chance encounter when, with quite a bit of manipulation on the part of the prince, she's convinced to share an intimate moment with him. It's an action that's quite out of character for her. And in the song, Moments in the Woods, she grapples with the result of having her wish granted. Back to sense, back to child, back to husband, no one lives in the woods. There are vows, there are ties, there are needs, there are standards, there are shoulds and shoulds. Why not both instead? There's the answer if you're clever. Have a child for warmth, and a baker for bread, and a prince for whatever. It's these woods. Face the facts, find the boy, join the group, stop the giant, just get out of these woods. Was that him? Yes, it was. Was that me? No, it wasn't. Just a trick of the woods. Just a moment, one peculiar passing moment. Must it all be either less or more, either plain or grand? Is it always or is it never end? That's what woods are for those moments in the woods. Oh, if life were only moments, even now and then a bad one. But if life were only moments, then you never know you have one. First a witch, then a child, then a prince, then a moment who can live in the woods. And to get what you wish only just for a moment, these are dangerous woods. Let the moment go. Don't forget it for a moment though. Just remembering you had an hand when you're back to war makes the ore mean more than it did before. Now I understand, and it's time to leave the woods. The song, Why Was I Born, is from Sweet Adeline, written in 1929 by Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein II. It revolves around a woman unlucky in love who becomes a Broadway star. The role of Adeline was written for the singer Helen Morgan. I first learned about the song from the movie The Helen Morgan Story, which sparked my interest in the singer who was famous for singing perched on a grand piano, holding a scarf. The song provided a much-needed outlet for my adolescent angst. I grew up in a very competitively verbal household, the third of 3 daughters. I wasn't allowed to watch TV unless my father found the program more beneficial for me intellectually than reading a book. As a result, I never quite fit in with my peers. I used 5-syllable words and didn't watch the Brady Bunch. It left me quite socially isolated, especially at parties. I'd go to parties where they'd invited an extra boy so that every girl would have a dance partner. How humiliating was it then that I sat out every dance with the 2 remaining boys who'd rather sit there than dance with me. So I'd go home and sing torch songs to comfort myself. Written almost 100 years ago, the song Why Was I Born still packs an emotional wallop. Spending these lonesome evenings with nothing to do but to live in dreams that I make all by myself. City before fleeing it for Los Angeles was Stephen Sondheim's Sweeney Todd. I'd been trying to make it as an actor there for 5 years. I got cast pretty often, but wasn't paid, and worked in locales known as off Broadway. In the late 1970s, the city was getting more dangerous. Several of my friends had been mugged, and I felt like my number was about to come up. And rents were skyrocketing to the point where I feared I would never be able to live there without a roommate. I was approaching 30 years old, and quite frankly, the thought of living with one more person who wasn't a romantic partner just drove me crazy. So I left a chilly New York in December 1979 and moved to warmer West Hollywood. But I will always cherish the memory of seeing Angela Lansbury and Len Cariou in Sweeney Todd. Worst Pies in London is sung by Mrs. Lovett, a meat pie maker, to Sweeney, a barber she once loved. She hasn't seen him in 15 years, and his appearance is altered so drastically that she doesn't recognize him. He's just escaped an unjust imprisonment in Australia and has come back to London with vengeance on his mind. Mrs. Lovett bemoans the scarcity of meat in the city. This problem soon will be alleviated when Sweeney starts to murder the clients in his barber shop upstairs from the pie shop. Mrs. Lovett will then process the bodies into her meat pies. Yes, it really is that creepy. But at this point, things haven't turned to cannibalism yet. What's your hurry? You gave me such a fright, I thought you was the ghost. Half a minute, can't you sit you down, sit. All I meant is that I haven't had a customer for weeks. Did you come here for a pie, sir? Do forgive me if the answer's a little vague. Oh, what is that? But you think we have the plague? From the way that people keep avoiding, no you don't. Heaven knows I try, sir, but nobody comes here even to inhale. Right you also, would you like a cup of ale? Mind you, I can hardly blame them. These are probably the worst pies in London. I know why nobody cares to take them. I should know, I make them, but good now. The worst pies in London. In London, if you doubt it, take a bite. Is that just disgusting? You have to concede it. It's nothing but crusting. You drink that, you need it. The worst pies in London. And no wonder with the price of meat what it is when you get it. Never thought I'd see the day men would think it was a treat. Finding poor animals, what a diamond in the street. Mrs. Mooney has a pie shop. Does a business, but I noticed something weird. Lately all the neighbors' cats have disappeared. Got to hand it to her, what I calls enterprise. Popping pussy into pies wouldn't do in my shop. Just the thought of it's enough to make you sick. And I'm telling you, them pussy cats is quick. No denying times is hard, sir. Even harder than the worst pies in London. Only lard and nothing more. Is that just revolting? Oh, greasy, gritty. It looks like it's molting and tastes like, well, pity a woman alone with limited wind and the worst pies in London. Oh, sir, times is hard, times is hard. now my husband, told me, 1, that he was never going to marry again, and 2, that there were no more children in his future. I was in my late 30s and very much wanted to have a child. So, despite being very drawn to him, I told him that this would be a temporary relationship until the right man came along. A few months later, he told me that he loved me, but I held back, wanting my future to be the one with a baby in it. Fast forward a few months, and I was in some serious trouble, and he graciously offered to help me. And I realized that I would be crazy to reject this man just because the picture that was being painted for me differed from the one that I had painted for myself. A few months later, we were on our first camping trip together in Durango, Colorado. One morning, he turned to me and said, "I could retire and move here. How about you?" I said, "Put it right there, pal." 5 days after we came home, he put this engagement ring on my finger. In Fiorello by Sheldon Harnick and Jerry Bach, Fiorello LaGuardia and Thea Almaraghetti meet in 1915 while advocating for workers' rights. In 1917, Fiorello, now a congressman, is about to serve in the First World War. He proposes to Thea, and she says that although she admires and respects him, she's not sure that's enough of a basis for a marriage. But he's persistent, and she agrees to marry him when he comes home from the war. The play jumps to 1929, and they've been married for over 10 years. One morning, as Thea is sending him off to work, she realizes that she loves her husband, though she doesn't know when or how this came to be. There he goes, my congressman, starting his day, hurrying right to a fight. There he goes, Sir Galahad, who would have known I'd have my own crumbled night. Out of the house 10 seconds, and I miss him. I miss him more with each goodbye. Out of the house 10 seconds, and I miss him. And no one's more astonished than I never once pretended song Could I Leave You is from the second act of Stephen Sondheim's Follies, a huge, flashy musical that's a meditation on memory and loss. The play revolves around a reunion of chorus girls in the theater where the Follies of the title were performed. Phyllis sings the song to her husband, Ben, who is now a rich and prominent public figure. While Ben was courting Phyllis back in the day, he had a secret relationship with her roommate and fellow chorus girl, Sally. The reunion between Ben and Sally has awakened feelings in them both. Phyllis, aware of their flirtation, is sick to death of her sham of a relationship with Ben. After a heated argument, Ben tells her to pack a bag and leave. This is her deliciously nasty response. Leave you, how could I leave you? How could I go it alone? Could I wave the years away with a quick goodbye? How do you wipe tears away when your eyes are dry? Sweetheart, lover, could I recover? Give up the joys I have known, not to fetch your pills again every day at 5, not to give those dinners for 10 elderly men from the UN. How could I survive? Could I leave you and your shelves of the world's best books, and the evenings of martyred looks, cryptic sighs, sullen glares from those injured eyes? Leave the quips with a sting, jokes with a sneer, passionless love-making once a year. Leave the lies, ill-concealed, and the wounds never healed, and the game's not worth winning. And wait, I'm just beginning. What? Leave you? Leave you? How could I leave you? What would I do on my own? Leaving thoughts of you aside in the south of France. Would I think of suicide? Darling, shall we dance? Could I live through the pain on a terrace in Spain? Would it pass? It would pass. Could I bury my rage with a boy half your age in the grass? Bet you're, but I've done that already. Or didn't you know, love? Tell me, how could I leave when I left long ago? Love, could I leave you? No, the point is, could you leave me? Well, I guess you could leave me the house, leave me the flat, leave me the Brocs and Chagalls and all that. You could leave me the stocks for sentiment's sake, and 90% of the money you make, and the rugs and the cooks. Darling, you keep the drugs, angel, you keep the books. Honey, I'll take the grand sugar, you take the spinach, and all of our friends, and just wait a little minute. Leave you, how could I leave you? Sweetheart, I have to confess. Could I leave you? Yes. Will I leave you? Will I leave you? Yes. The song, If You Walked Into My Life, is from Mame by Jerry Herman. It's a musical based on the play and the film Auntie Mame. The play revolves around the relationship between Mame Dennis and her nephew and ward, Patrick. A fixture in the bohemian set of 1920s New York, Mame surrounds herself with eccentric and flamboyant characters, many of whom are present at a party the night the newly orphaned Patrick arrives in her home. During the course of the party, Mame gives Patrick a bugle for no apparent reason. Mame and Patrick go on to have madcap adventures until the trustee of Patrick's father's estate enrolls him in a boarding school in Massachusetts. For Christmas of 1929, all Mame can afford to give Patrick is his first pair of long pants. Years go by, and when Patrick is old enough to marry, he chooses a young debutante, Gloria, from a bigoted Connecticut family. Mame, distressed at the small-mindedness and prejudice of the parents, asks Patrick if he's troubled by his future in-law's values. Patrick says he's in love, and he wants to protect Gloria from the sort of people who surrounded him when he was growing up. In other words, people like Mame. They argue, and Patrick stalks off telling her to forget he ever knew her. She ever knew him. Alone, heartbroken, she questions the way in which she raised Patrick. I've seen the film Auntie Mame a number of times, and what's always struck me is how totally unprepared Mame was to be a parent. For instance, she couldn't comprehend that learning to make the perfect martini was just not age appropriate for the 10-year-old Patrick. My parents were somewhat as clueless. They wanted precocious children and tended to treat us as if we were the same age as our advanced reading level. When I was a child, my family took a trip across America. What possessed my parents on the last night on the road to take me, a 9-year-old, to see the movie Psycho, while we were staying in a motel? Bless their hearts. Like Mame, they just didn't seem to know any better. Where's that boy with a bugle? My little love was always my big romance. Where's that boy with a bugle? And why did I ever buy him those damn long pants? Did he need a stronger hand? Did he need a lighter touch? Was I soft or was I tough? Did I give enough? Did I give too much? At the moment when he needed me, did I ever turn away? Would I be there when he called if he walked into my life today? Were his days a little dull? Were his nights a little wild? Did I overstate my plan? Did I stress the man and forget the child? And there must have been a million things that my heart forgot to say. Would I think of one or two if he walked into my life today? Should I blame the way I pampered him, or blame the way I bossed him?
a shame. I never really found the boy before I lost him. Were the years a little fast? Was his world a little free? Was there too much of a crowd, all too lush and loud, and not enough of me? No, I'll ask myself my whole life long, what went wrong along the way? Would I make the same mistakes if he walked into my life today? If that boy with a bugle walked into my life today. I am a daughter of an English teacher. My father was a first-generation American who spoke with neither the Eastern European accent of his parents nor the Brooklyn accent of those he grew up with. And he expected his 3 daughters to speak the same standard American speech. I grew up in New York City, in the neighborhood of Forest Hills, surrounded by peers who talked in a Queens accent, sort of like the Brooklyn accent most people are familiar with a higher, more nasal voice, and no matter what you had to say it very, very fast. If, at the dinner table, where most of our conversations took place, one of us slipped into the local dialect, my father would raise his head, glower, and intone, "What did you say?" If, on the other hand, one of us made it clear that we were using the accent to amuse him, she'd be rewarded with laughter. I shudder to think what Henry Higgins would have thought. In Lerner and Lowe's My Fair Lady, Henry Higgins, a professor of phonetics, takes on the challenge of teaching Eliza Doolittle, a Cockney flower seller, to speak the Queen's English. The song, "Why Can't the English?" is the first in the play and establishes Higgins as a phonetic snob. He bemoans the sorry state of the English language as spoken by his fellow Englishmen. Eliza is seated on the curb, and her accent, as she tries to convince Higgins to buy a bunch of flowers, absolutely infuriates him. Although the song is usually sung by a man, it occurred to me that there's absolutely no reason why a woman couldn't be a phonetic snob as well. Look at her, a prisoner of the gutters, condemned by every syllable she utters. By right she should be taken out and hung for the cold-blooded murder of the English tongue. This is what the British population calls an elementary education. Hear them down in Soho Square, dropping H's everywhere, speaking English any way they like. You, sir, did you go to school? Were you type before a fool? No one taught him tape instead of type. Hear a Yorkshireman or worse, hear a Cornishman converse. I'd rather hear a choir singing flat. Chickens cackling in a barn, just like this one. Gone. I ask you, what kind of word is that? It's ow and gone that keep her in her place, not her wretched clothes and dirty face. Why can't the English teach her children how to speak? This verbal past distinction by now should be antique. If you spoke as she does, sir, instead of the way you do, why you might be selling flowers too. And English's way of speaking absolutely classifies him. The moment he speaks, he makes some other Englishman despise him. One common language I'm afraid we'll never get. Oh, why can't the English learn to set a good example for people whose English is painful to your ears? The Scotch and the Irish leave you close to tears. There even are places where English completely disappears. In America, they haven't used it for years. Why can't the English teach their children how to speak? Norwegians learn Norwegian, the Greeks are taught their Greek. In France, every Frenchman knows his language from A to Z. The French never care what they do, actually, as long as they pronounce it properly. Arabians learn Arabian with the speed of summer lightning. The Hebrews learn it backwards, which is absolutely frightening. But you proper English, you're regarded as a freak. Oh, why can't the English? Why can't the English learn to speak?
Where to start with Far From the Home I Love? The song comes from the second act of Fiddler on the Roof by Sheldon Harnick and Jerry Bach. The song is sung by a young woman, Huddle, to her father, Tevye. They are awaiting the train that will bring her to reunite with her fiancé, Perchik, a revolutionary who has been exiled to Siberia. I had the great good fortune of playing Tevye's wife, Golda, right after graduating from college. As I rehearsed and performed the role, I felt the presence of my ancestors, especially my maternal grandmother, who had died 2 years earlier. The experience was made all the more special by my Tevye, a flamboyant young man named Billy who had a huge personality and a fabulous sense of humor. We so enjoyed our relationship, both on stage and off. My sweet maternal grandfather was alive at the time and came to see a performance. At the end of the first act, Russian soldiers violently intrude upon a wedding celebration. My grandfather, seated in the front row, got very agitated and cried, "Oh no, the Cossacks are coming!" When we got into the dressing room at intermission, Billy said, "Who was that old dude yelling in the front row?" I said, "That was my grandpa, and he lived it." 16 years later, Billy died, too young, at the age of 37. I sang Far From the Home I Love at his memorial service. Needless to say, the song has many layers of meaning for me.
Watching over dreams grow Oh, the melancholy choice this is, wanting home, wanting in, closing my heart to every hope but his, leaving the home I love. There where my heart has settled long ago, I must go, I must go. Who could imagine I'd be wandering so far from the home I love? Yet there with my love, What little girl doesn't identify with the character Cinderella? Even if she has the ideal home life, the story of the sweet, downtrodden servant girl pulls at any girl's heartstrings. As I've mentioned, my home life was far from ideal, and without going into the gory details, as the third of 3 daughters, my role was to be the good one, never demanding attention from my parents. So it was that when I was a toddler, I spent hours alone by myself while my mother was unavailable. There was a small children's record player on which I incessantly played the story of Cinderella, recorded over the Prokofiev ballet score. The theme for the midnight hour expresses such despair that I would sit there alone for hours, crying my eyes out. It didn't matter that the story had a happy ending. I just focused on that doleful theme. I also vividly remember being 6 years old, sitting in the den of our new home, anxious to watch Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, which was written for TV as a vehicle for the young Julie Andrews. And what a revelation! It was funny. And despite having all the compassion in the world for Cinderella, I just couldn't resist the wit and sugar-coated nastiness of Stepsister's Lament. It's their response to Prince Charming's total enchantment with the transformed and unrecognized Cinderella. Never mind how badly they've treated Cinderella. This lament that expresses the stepsisters' petulance and confusion almost makes one feel sorry for them. Almost. Why would a fellow want a girl like her, a frail and fluffy beauty? Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a solid girl like me? She's a funny little ball with a flimsy kind of charm, and with very little trouble I could break her little arm. Oh, why would a fellow want a girl like her, so obviously unusual? Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a usual girl like me? Her cheeks are a pretty shade of pink, but not any pinker than a rose is. Her skin may be delicate and soft, but not any softer than a dose's. Her neck is no wider than a swan's. She's only as dainty as a daisy. She's only as graceful as a bird. So why is the fellow going crazy? Oh, why would a fellow want a girl like her? A girl who's nearly lovely. Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a girl who's merely mean? She's a frothy little bubble with a flimsy kind of charm, and with very little trouble I could break her little arm. Oh, why would a fellow want a girl like her? A girl who's merely lovely. Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a girl who's merely me? What's the matter with the man? What's the matter with the man? What's the matter with the man? The song, Still Hurting, is from an inventive two-character musical called The Last 5 Years. The play charts the demise of a marriage, but from the end, working backwards. In the song, which is the first in the play, Kathy tries to come to terms with the pain of her separation from her husband, Jamie. When I was 17 and a freshman in college, I fell deliriously in love with a young man who, for all intents and purposes, had returned from the dead. I'd learned before I met him that he'd left school the previous spring, suffering from lymphoma. Everyone thought it would kill him. The experience of surviving a life-threatening illness altered him drastically. He was no longer a carefree young adult. He was a world-weary poet who saw everything through a glass darkly. When I told him that I loved him, he said, "Well, I don't know what love is, but I'll accept that as a gift from a flower to a garden." Really? At the inevitable end of our relationship, he inexplicably walked away from me during a date, and then, to my utter confusion, refused to take my phone calls or even speak to me if we ran into each other on campus. 2 weeks later, I tracked him down in his dorm room, and when I asked him what had happened, he said, "I'm not good enough for you." Many years later, with better perspective, I realized he was absolutely right. But at the time, his explanation was no explanation at all. I still had so many unspoken questions that he neither wanted to hear nor answer. For all the women or men who have had their heart crushed by a departing partner, this song is the antithesis of the dreaded statement, "It's not you, it's me." Kathy's just been told, "It's not me, it's you." Here's her response. Janie, what about you? Janie's convinced something wonderful died. Janie decides it's his right to decide. Janie has secrets he doesn't confide. And I'm still hurting. Go and hide and run away. Run and find something better. Go and ride the sun away. Run away like it's simple, like it's Janie is over, where can I turn? Covered in scars, I did nothing to earn. Maybe there's somewhere a lesson to learn. But that wouldn't change the fact. That wouldn't ease the tide. Once the foundation's cracked, and I'm still hurting. Parenting a teenager isn't a picnic. Well, there's an understatement. Beginning the adventure of step parenting with a 15-year-old boy, quite a daunting challenge, and one that I had occasion to rise to. You know those things your parents said to you that you swore you would never say to another human being? I remember the first time my stepson, frustrated that I wouldn't let him do something, said, "That's not fair!" And I said, "Life's not fair!" I wanted to swallow my tongue. I still wonder, could I have better handled this and other conflicts with my stepson? The next two songs concern parenting teenagers. The first is from Dear Evan Hansen, a musical by Ben Pasak and Justin Paul, built around Evan, an anxiety-ridden high school student. In the song, Anybody Have a Map? Evan's mother, while serving him breakfast, attempts to convince him to approach a new school year with enthusiasm instead of dread. Can we buck up just enough to see the world won't fall apart? Maybe this year we decide we're not giving up before we've tried. This year we make a new start. Another stellar conversation for the scrapbook. Another stumble as I'm reaching for the right thing to say. Well, I'm kind of coming up empty, can't find my way to you. Does anybody have a map? Anybody maybe happen to know how the hell to do this? I don't know if you can tell, but this is me just pretending to know. So where's the map? I need a clue, cause the scary truth is I'm flying blind, and I'm making this up as I go. Another masterful attempt ends with disaster. Pour another cup of coffee and watch it all crash and burn. It's a puzzle, it's a maze. I try to steer through it a million ways, but each day's another wrong turn. Does anybody have a map? Anybody maybe happen to know how the hell to do this? I don't know if you can tell, but this is me just pretending to know. So where's the map? I need a clue, cause the scary truth is I'm flying blind. I'm flying blind. I'm flying blind, and I'm making this up as I go. As I go. In The Fantastics by Harvey Schmidt, the parents of two teenagers desperately want their son and daughter to fall in love and marry. In the song, Never Say No, they reveal the secret of how parents can get teenagers to do anything they want them to do. How clever we are, how crafty to know. To manipulate children, you merely say no. Dogs got to bark, mules got to bray. Children, soldiers must fight, and preachers must pray. And children, I guess, must get their own way. The minute that we say no. Why did the kids pour jam on the cat? Raspberry jam all over the cat. Why would the kids do something like that? They did it cause we said no. My son was once afraid to swim, the water made him wince. Until I said he mustn't swim. He's been swimming ever since. He's been swimming ever since. Oh, dogs got to bark, mules got to bray. Soldiers must fight and preachers must pray. And children, I guess, must get their own way. The minute that you say no. Why did the kids put beans in their ears? No one can hear with beans in their ears. After a while the reason appears. They did it cause we said no. Your daughter brings a young man home, says, do you like him, Mom? Just tell her he's a fool, and then you've got a son-in-law. You've got a son-in-law. Oh, sure as the June comes right after May, sure as the night comes right after day, you can be sure the devil's to pay. The minute that you say no, make sure you never say no. Stephen Sondheim's A Little Night Music is a play about mismatched lovers. The song Send in the Clowns is sung in the second act by Desiree, an aging actress, to her former lover, Frederick. They were very much in love in their younger years, but Desiree chose career over commitment. Many years later, they reconnect, and Frederick is now married to an 18-year-old girl who, after 11 months of marriage, is still a virgin. In the second act, Desiree proposes that Frederick leave his unconsummated marriage and marry her. Frederick admits that though he's loved Desiree for a very long time, he is besotted by this young woman who is childishly thrilled whenever he walks into a room. Desiree sings the rueful song that's couched in the language of the theater. From the first time I heard the song, the use of the word clowns confused me. Was there a circus in town? What did clowns have to do with lovers not quite reconnecting? Well, the late, great Stephen Sondheim explained it far better than I ever could. He said, I wanted to use theatrical imagery because she's an actress, but it's not supposed to be a circus. It's a theatrical reference, meaning if the show isn't going well, let's send in the clowns. In other words, let's do the jokes. Oh, and by the way, Frederick and Desiree do end up together at the end of the show. But at the moment this song is sung, Desiree only knows the pain and disappointment of a love lost.
In
thought to pick clouds. Well, maybe next year. I leave you with the song Many a New Day from Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma. Why should a woman who is healthy and strong blubber like a baby if her man goes away, weeping and wailing how he's done her wrong? That's one thing you'll never hear me say. Never gonna think that the man I lose is the only man among men. I'll snap my fingers to show I don't care. I'll buy me a brand new dress to wear. I'll scrub my neck and I'll brush my hair and start all over again. Many a new face will please my eye. Many a new love will find me. Never have I once looked back to sigh over the romance behind me. Many a new day will dawn before I do. Many a light lad may kiss and fly. A kiss gone by is bygone. Never have I asked an August sky, where has last July gone? Never have I wandered through the rye, wondering where has some guy gone. Many a new day will dawn before I do. Never have I cursed the honeybee who carelessly cajoled me. Somebody else just as sweet as he cheered me and consoled me. Never have I wept into my tea over the deal someone told me. Many a new day will dawn, many a red sun will